So I started with the darker skin tone yesterday. A lot of people seem to struggle quite a lot with darker skin tones, when really they're not that difficult. We're using the same process that we do for every single skin tone that I colour, but obviously we're just going to pick different colours, and sometimes you just wouldn't think that the colours that you're using would particularly work, but they do. So as I said before, I know my colours by name, not by number, but I'm going to read out the numbers to you so you can make a quick note of them. PC937, PC944, PC941, PC940, PC1017, PC947, PC1092 and PC1082. Some of these you'll find in the standard packs, and some of these you can only get in the larger Prismacolour packs. So for example, this chocolate, this is the only chocolate pencil that I have because it only comes in the larger pack. So if you don't have a chocolate, I would just look for something similar. It's quite a warm brown colour, so I would literally just start looking to see what I could find that's similar. I mean, that's light umber. I think I already used that one anyway. I think that's there. Yeah. But if you don't have the exact colours, or you're using a different brand, that's burnt ochre there, but it is a lighter colour. Sometimes you can just swap them out, and if you don't have it, sometimes you can just completely miss that stage out. Sometimes you may have to layer. So if you're looking for a chocolate, you could probably use the light umber which is there, because they're actually very, very similar, and then layer another colour over to make it more of the chocolate colour. But that kind of thing comes in time, really. It's just knowing what kind of colours you can mix to create different effects. So as I did this last night, I didn't write down how I did it, I just did it, which is what I tend to do. I just go in and do things, and then when people ask me how did I do it, I've generally forgotten. So I usually follow the same pattern for each skin tone that I'm making. So it can be quite easy to follow if we follow the same process every single time. So I'm just going to move that out of the way to our blank page here. So what I normally do is I find my darkest, and then I start looking at the orders I think they should be layered. If I'm putting down a dark colour, I usually think a warmer or a lighter colour should come next. Or if I'm using dark, it's not exactly light, it's a warmer colour. So this could look quite cool by itself. It is dark umber, but if I added the terracotta to it, it'll make it slightly warmer. So once I've got the first layer down, that is when I'll judge what else I need to put on top. Now you can do skin tones with just three colours. Light, no, I'd say four. Light, dark, middle, and then you need a warm colour. But as you can see, I tend to use quite a lot. So this is dark umber, it's PC947. I'm going to go straight in with this, and what I always do to start off with is I'll be looking at where all the shadows on the face should be. So around the hairline, under individual pieces of hair, around the side of the face, under the chin, and where the clothes would sit. So around the clothes, around these armbands, on the insides of her arms, like around the hem, around the neckline, and in kind of like the places that should be shadowed if it were a real photograph. You probably already know this, but just a quick, this is what I always say. So when I'm doing skin tones or faces, it does depend on the effect you have, depends on how you hold your hand. So when we're doing things like trees and branches, you will hold it quite stiff, and you'll be holding it with a very sharp point down onto the page. If I move that out the way a little bit. And it's a really basic lesson here. This is why you probably already know. So if you're looking and you're doing branches or leaves, you'll be using the very tip, quite a lot of pressure, and you can be making marks like that. But on a face, there is no lines. Even if you have shadows, they're not split off by lines between the dark and the light. So I still like a really sharp pencil, but instead, when I'm going to go in on the face, I use the side of my pencils, because if a line appears too harshly, it can be blended into the next colour. if I've done this, this cannot blend. You will always have that, no matter how much you try to rub that away, it's going to be there. So if we do it this way, we can build up as much intensity as we want. If we have to blend it out, we can still fix that. And then of course we can add colours and keep on layering. So we do not hold our pencil like that when we're doing skin. We hold it further up the pencil and to the side. Now when it comes to hair, well then we go back to this, because obviously I want to create hair strands, and that won't work by holding my pencil on the side. It has to be from an upright position with a very sharp point. So that's the difference between kind of sketching and filling in shading lines in compared to drawing with actual lines. Now, as I said, most of you probably already knew that, but I just thought I'd quickly run over it. When I said that on Hachanda, I was quite surprised at the amount of people that had said they'd never been told that before. I don't really remember if I was ever told that. I think it's just something that you kind of realise as you go along. I only did GCSE art. I haven't been to university. I've not had any professional training, as some people would call it. It's just a lot of learning by yourself. Loads and loads of YouTube videos. There's so many places out there that you can learn new things from. If you want to improve on your colouring skills or even your drawing skills, all it takes is time and lots of practice. So I'm going to be going in with my darkest colour, and I'm going to be creating the shadows. This won't be the final shadows. I keep going over my colours until I reach the intensity that I want. So you'll see as I go along, I keep swapping pencils, but I will tell you which ones I'm using for where. If you have any questions, let me know. Oh, Alison, I'm sorry, can you tell us the names? Yes, so I will. I'll tell you the names. This is dark umber, because you're, Alison, I think you're using polychromos. I'm sure you told me that. So I don't know the alternative, but this is dark umber. So I'm just going in, I'm creating all these shadows in places that would help it look three-dimensional by the time I have finished. And if I think any of my lines are coming out too sharp, there's another way we can fix it. So I have a mechanical eraser, as you can see. It's very good at making highlights. So if you put quite a lot of pressure on, it will rub through quite a lot of colour actually to create highlight. But if I'm trying to remove an area because I think it's too dark, or the shading's come too far out of where I want it to go, this is a normal Derwent rubber. All I do is I never use the corners, I use the entire edge. As you can see, it's the whole edge across there and back side. So if I needed to remove some colour, I wouldn't go in with my corners because you're going to create lines again. Go in with the whole back and literally just rub some of the colour off, and it will bring it off gradually, rather than, because I'm telling you, if you go in on a corner, you'll create another line. Even though you don't mean to, it will happen. So I'm thinking about, if this hair is down her face, it's likely that it's going to be sitting off her skin. So I'm just going to create a similar shape to her hair, so it looks like a shadow. And as I'm moving my shadows this direction, I'm not going to come into the centre because that wouldn't make any sense. I'm just going to put this one slightly behind here, and then I can just carry on with the shading around as I did before. Now I don't know about you guys, but I move my paper a lot. I will tilt it and turn it and move it to go with my hands. I'm doing it a lot more because I'm right-handed, but my camera has made everything the other way around because I'm using the front-facing camera, because I think I was having problems with the back-facing. So as you can see, the letters on the screen are actually back to front. It's because I'm using the front-facing camera. So I really am right-handed, not left-handed, and my shoulder is absolutely killing me at the moment. I don't know what I've done. I have fibromyalgia, and sometimes for no reason at all it feels like I wake up and there's a new pain, and this time it's my shoulder, and it's actually causing quite a lot of problems with me being right-handed. So I try to move my whole arm or my page round rather than, you know, constantly trying to put pressure on my shoulder and moving it around to suit the page. Instead I move the page round to me. Hi Jane. I've got Alison, Sheila and Jane at the moment. So if you have any questions, do ask me. I will answer them. I am keeping a quick lookout on my iPad so I can see any questions coming in. Oh Shelley, you've got fibro too. Yeah, it's not fun, is it? I particularly like the way the doctors always tell us that they don't know where it came from. We must have had an infection. It's come from somewhere, they just don't really know. Although to be fair, when I was a kid, we went abroad. I think we might have been in Spain somewhere. I can't remember where the location was exactly, but I caught glandular fever and I was about 11, and apparently glandular fever does bring on chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. I found that out a few years ago, and then when I went to take my kids to Spain a couple of years ago, it's really odd. I caught glandular fever right before we had to fly. So a few days beforehand, I was really ill, but there was no way I was going to miss out on the holiday. So by the time the flight SID came round, I was doing a lot better. But I can see that as a valid point. Maybe it does get brought on by infection, because glandular fever is awful. Hi Charlotte. Right, so I'm going in all of these darkest areas here, and I'm still going in quite lightly. Now, we get to the part of the face where we have to make some actual decisions, which will, I don't want to scare you, kind of make or break whether or not this works. So we have to look at the actual dimensions of a face. Now I actually put a lot more detail on to help you with this than others do. So my drawing style is not unique. There's a couple of us out there who look very similar, but yeah, I think you can tell us all apart. But what I do draw noses. There's quite a lot of people who don't. And what I do, I put in the nose for you, and then I put quite deep eye sockets. Now the reason why I do that is because it should make it easy for you to create a 3D face. So instead of trying to work out where the bridge of the nose would be, if you follow down using the eye sockets that I've drawn it in, you can kind of see on both sides where they should be. That's quite important when we're adding shadows in, because that would make a three-dimensional nose. If we get that wrong, well then it could kind of mess up the whole thing. Even I sometimes think, oh, that's a bit wonky, but I can fix it. You can fix it. We can go in and we can try and change things. So I start off, I tell you what I used to do when I was first kind of starting. Let me see if I can find it. I go in with a really, really light pencil. So if I don't like it and it's gone wrong, I can fix it really quickly. A kind of like, it was like a French grey colour. That's too much. There you go, there's French grey, 20%, yep, that's fine. So it does have some colour, you can see it there, but it's not, we can lift that with a rubber if we have to. So I will go in with a light pencil like this and start joining up the nose to the eye socket. And you only need a tiny bit of a line so you can see where your lines are going to go, and you can assess as to whether or not that looks okay, rather than going in with a dark colour straight away and kind of committing to it. So I've added two little lines here and here, and I'm joining the eye socket up with the nose. So if we think in our heads how this is going to work, so here's the bridge of our eyebrows here, and here's our eye socket and our nose. So from here to here is going to be in shadow. It gets lighter toward the edges, but between here and here, we're definitely going to have some shadowed areas. This bit here, around the tear duct, I'll circle them. I always like to have something light there. and in the center of the eyelids I want something like that, and just underneath the eyebrows, so that we're creating a 3D shape. So I'm going to go from, I'm going to put a line here so you can see it, and I'm going to start shading in to go backward across here, but I don't want a line here, so I'm going to have to blend out and blend out. So I'm going to go in with the darkest colour still, so you can still see it. That what I just used was a 20% French grey. That's a PC 1069, and that's purely because it's really easy to erase if we have to, and we've not really committed. We can still see the lines ourselves, but if we have to, we can change them. So I'm going to go in really lightly now. And all I'm doing is I am connecting, but I'm not using lines. I'm still using brush strokes because I don't want lines. So I'm shading up to that line, and I'm adding just some shadows around there, and to blend it outwards. And then we would naturally get a shadow underneath the nose and on the underside of the nose there and there. So I've shadowed that in. Now, although I'm using my pencil upright more, I'm still not putting a lot of pressure. It's little things. So when I'm doing the face, I like sharp pencils, but I want one flat edge. So to create that flat edge, I would do that. And you should be able to see that I have a point, but only on one side. So that point I can use like that for details, but the flat side, I can feel it's there, I can use to shade. So I'm using the flat side, not the pointy side right now. And I am just going to shade upward. You see, even I think that may have been a little too much. So I'll lift it again and then just go back in. So I'm going to bring my eye socket darker, because that's definitely where shadow would be. And I'm just going to lift it up and lift it out up to the brows. And then I don't want a line, so I'm going to blend it back out and do the same on the other side. So definitely a shadow in the eye sockets. Bring it down. And then I'm just going to blend outwards up to my eyebrows and then outward to the centre. Can you see that? I don't know how well you can see it from your end, but I will go darker once I've kind of got it in my head where I want everything to be. I don't ever want to go in too hard in case things need to be moved or changed. Okay, right, I would say that's the darkest pencil. I don't need that one now. Let's finish that off. Right, so I'm going to keep this to one side because I always jump back and forth. So that was the dark umber. So I don't know how well you can see the colours, but from where I'm sitting, this is a very cool colour. I definitely need to bring some warmth back in. So let me have a quick look. That's the chocolate. That's really warm. That's really nice, actually. I'm going to go with the chocolate. So this is PC 1082 and chocolate. If you don't have it, substitute it for a light umber. Let's see if we can kind of recreate that colour. A light umber and a terracotta over the top. Actually, that's not too bad. So this is the mixture of the light umber and the terracotta, and that's the chocolate. So you can layer it and get a very similar colour from it. Okay, right, so I'm going to go back over the shadowed areas that I've already done. The way that I draw colour skin tones is through lots and lots of layers. So I'm going back over the areas that I had already done. And then what I do is I blend slightly further out than the last layer. So I just come slightly further in, all the way around. And the colours, as you can see, it's definitely getting warmer now. We should get a really lovely dark warm skin tone at the end. I'm following the shadows this way. I'm going to go into my eye sockets the exact same way. This time I'm just going to drag it further out than before. I'm going to still leave the white area, so I'm preserving that area and I'm preserving that one, but I'm still going to go over the top of my last colour and blend it up still a little bit further. And then when it comes to the centre of the nose, I'm going to do the exact same thing as I did before. I'm just going to blend it out further. Now remember, we do still want highlights, even though we've got a dark skin tone. There will still be places where the light hits the skin and it's still going to create some really lovely highlights. So I'm thinking of that down the bridge of the nose and the eyebrows, maybe a little spot on the chin, but it's quite a small picture so you wouldn't really see that. The top of the nose and where I'm adding, where I think the light would hit the body in general. So even though I'm bringing my shading out, I am still thinking about not going too dark or I'll lose those highlights. So I just keep on going all the way around. Now, you also don't need to worry about going over any lines, because I am a bit messy when I'm shady, but all you have to do is just use a white Posca pen or a white gel pen. If you've gone over your highlights, you feel like too much, that can easily be fixed. So I'm going to save this terracotta to last because that's going to be really warm. What I want to do now is establish a kind of middle tone. So I absolutely love Clay Rose and Nectar. I love them. Look at that. That is such a lovely colour. This is Clay Rose and that one too. They're just so lovely. I'm going to use Nectar PC 1092 and I'm going to go over the whole area and I'm going to bring it further out again, and I'm thinking along the lines of this is kind of like my base tone at the minute. I'm going to try and lift everything so it's nice and warm and all very similarly toned all over. So I'm going over all of the same areas again. I'm just bringing everything a little bit further out. Go around the nose and around the eyes. And then on the rest of the skin as well. Okay, right, now I actually think she needs some more darker tones back in there. So I'm going to add a touch of the terracotta to her cheeks, just to bring some warmth to her skin, and then I can judge whether or not I want that to go further over the rest of her body too. If we bring it in on the cheeks where we know we would naturally be adding some warmer tones, we can then make that decision afterwards. And actually, I think that might look really nice if we added it. Let's just do it. I'm not a very big planner, can you tell? I just go, let's see what happens. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong. So as you can see, I'm leaving the centre of her head right now. I'm going to have to come back and do that again toward the end, but I didn't want to do that when I didn't know what my overall tone was going to be, because that'll be one of the lightest places, like right in the centre of her forehead. So I'm just going over, I'm adjusting the tone again and again and again by adding these new colours until I get the tone that I want overall. So right the way down to our hands again. Okay. So what I want to do now is I'm going to add sand PC 940, and that is going to work as an all over to bring me some warmth and a bit of light to the skin. Not light in tone, kind of light in warmth. And that I'm holding really loosely, as you can tell, and I'm using it completely on its side because I am going all over and I'm adding quite a lot of pressure, so that I'm adapting the tone of the skin until I'm happy with it. And I'm going to bring this into the centre now. So we have a sort of base. This is what I need to kind of... Skin tones require a lot of different colours, but essentially you do need dark, medium, light, and I always think you need a base colour. Now, just because we're going to do darker skin tone doesn't mean that our base colour has to be dark, because there are many different shades of skin, and I never try to get the same twice, because I just don't think I could, because I tend to just pick things up and just go, yeah, let's do that. Even when I write down the colours I've used, I still can never replicate it. So can you see how that's made the skin tone really nice and warm? And what it does, because I've put it over everything, it kind of evens all tones out for me. Now she does have a lighter skin tone. I'll grab the other one. And then what I might do is I might go in again and try and make her skin even darker. We'll have a look what the other one looks like. Yeah, so this one is still quite a lot darker. There's a lot of red in her. So what I can do is I can go to a darker again, and then I just go in again. The other thing that really helps bring out the pigment is a blender pencil. And I don't always use a blender pencil to blend. I use it to push the pigment from the pencil into the tooth of the paper. Because I like to use textured paper, you won't be able to see it from where you're looking, but I can still see the white tooth of the paper shining through, which makes my colours less vibrant. Whereas if you use an oil or a solution or just a blender pencil, what that does is it pushes the pigment from your pencil further into the page so that you see less white tooth, which is what makes your pencils more vibrant when you're using a blender pencil. So I think I'll do that as well in a minute. I'll use my blender pencil so you can see the difference between when I've used it and when I haven't used it. The skin tone is actually, I don't know how well you can see, is coming out really nice. Right, all I'm going to add now is, shall I go with that one? Yeah. It's a touch of pink. I'm just going to add a touch of pink. Actually, it's not pink, sorry, it's nectar. 1092. Need to remember to use the actual names of the pencils. And all I'm doing is I'm just bringing that further out into the areas where the sand was, just to adjust that colour. When I'm going over her chest, yeah, and here, she has rings, look, and she has jewellery there, and I have gone straight over the top. All I'll do is I'll just use a white Posca pen to bring them back out and then colour them afterward. So I'm going to bring this one in, which I haven't used. So this is a new one. This is Henna PC 1031. I love this colour. And I'm going to use this just to bring some more colour into her cheeks. And then I think that would be her done. I'll lift her up to the camera so you can see. Oh no, I might bring the camera down actually, because we haven't got a lot of light right now. I'll see if I can raise it or lower it for you so you get a better shot of all the different colours that are in there. In my colouring books at the back you will find colouring sheets to practice your skin tones, and I should have brought down the Steampunk book and I've left it at the house. So in the back of all of my Darlings books I did create a section where you can practice these. So you can practice your different skin tones and you can write next to them which colours you've used and try and replicate them if you wanted to, or just like me, just use them as a base idea so you're not kind of blind the next time that you do it. Because that's the way I learned how to do skin tone, is just by doing it over and over again, watching loads of YouTube videos, and a lot of it is just working it out for yourself. It depends on how you like to colour. The way I do it might not work for you. It might do and it might not, and the way other people might do it might not work for me. You just kind of have to find the way that you like yourself. Right, I'm going to leave it like that because I think it's taken me, I'm trying to keep an eye on the time, about 30 minutes. So that's what it looks like compared to this one. And actually I think they're quite close. This one has some darker areas, but I'm going to keep them separate because I want them in a minute. I'm going to get my blender pencil So I'm not necessarily using it to blend. I'm going to use it to push the push the pigment into the tooth of the paper. So you will definitely see now that the pigment will stand out a lot more. So if I go in, shall I bring the camera down? Let me see if I can line you up so you can see a lot better. There you go, hopefully you can see that. Right, I think you can see that now. So I'm using my blender pencil, and you can see the skin tone here and the skin tone here. She does still have a touch more red than she does, but I'm going to use my pencil to go in, and I'm not using it like that. I am going to use it on its side, because all I'm using it for is to put a bit of pressure on top of the pencil, and that will make my colours brighter, because it's being pushed further into the tooth of the paper, so there's a lot less white paper shining through than there was, and it really makes your pigment stand out. If I literally did half of her body, you would definitely see the difference. So you still need to consider, do you really want it to cover all the white in certain areas? Don't go in with loads of pressure at first. Go in with nice, smooth, circular pressure. Still be mindful of your white areas. Lift the pressure off where you don't want it to be dark, the exact same way you did when you were originally colouring it. Add the pressure where you want the colours to be brighter, and because you've layered them, and we've layered them so gently, you will see that they all become to really, they're merging into colours that you couldn't possibly have got, because you've just made them with all sorts of different colours. So the blender pencil really pushes them together, and you're making new tones there that you didn't originally have. So this side I have used the blender pencil, and this side I haven't used yet. I really hope you can see that on camera, because from where I'm sitting it really does make a difference. So I'll finish off this side, and then we'll move on to a lighter skin tone. I did a nice light peachy one, but I think we should go for something different. This is a dark skin tone, but maybe not dark enough. Maybe we could go darker. It is hard, I'm not going to lie to you. It can be really hard to do skin tones and be accurate, but if we don't try and we don't get it wrong, then we're never going to get it right next time. I feel like I've been a little bit safe with this one. She is slightly darker skin tone, but it's very warm. It's very sunny. I mean, I'm from the UK, and we'd have to wear a lot of fake tan in order to get anywhere near this skin tone shade, but maybe kind of Spanish. It still looks sunny European like. Maybe we can go darker instead of going lighter. And what you would do from this point, you would then go along with, if she is dark skinned, we then need to think about, does she have dark eyes, dark hair, different tones for her lips, for her eyebrows, and from that point you can create a different kind of profile for the girl if you're thinking in terms of what colour skin tone, what natural hair colours they'll have, what natural eyes they'll have. But as you probably all know me by now, I don't really go by natural. I don't know, I'd probably do purple eyes and green hair, but as long as it looks good. So that was our darker one. We've got a peach colour here. I will bring you back up again so you can see the page. Come on. Right, that will do. There you go. Right, so this was our darker, this is our lighter. She's very peachy. It's a lovely skin tone, but she is very peachy. And on this one here, She's quite dark. I think we should go darker. Right, so I haven't practiced this one. Let's just see what we can do. I'm going to find some dark colours and I'll tell you what they are as we go. So I'm going to go, we'll do this middle girl here and let's just see what we can find. Sepia. Right, I'm going to use this one, PC948. That's quite a dark brown. Oh, also, you'll probably see me do it quite a lot. This is my practice thingy. I never colour on a page without testing my pencils on the side because we don't know if they're going to work if we haven't tested them. So that's sepia. And we're definitely going to need to have some warm in there. I'm going to use dark umber again. I'm definitely going to use chocolate again. Definitely going to use terracotta, henna, clay rose and sand. Let's see how we go with them. Move them to the side. So I'm just going to start straight in the middle. We'll do this girl here. Now, as I said, I have not practiced using these darker ones, so we'll just see how it goes. Starting off with sepia. Same process, same thing I did there, I'm going to do here, but we're just going to use different colour combinations to create different colours. So I'm going to go in around again in all of the same shadowed areas. I'm going to try and speed up a little bit. But I'm going to be doing all the same things that I did there. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Can you hear my ducks? They're just outside in their little pool and they're just constantly quacking. Constantly quacking. Or the budgies. The budgies always have to get involved somewhere. I'm lucky that I don't have any parrots down here because the parrots are so noisy you wouldn't ever hear anything I was saying. Alright, so I'm going to go along a hairline again. Smooth strokes, not too much pressure. And around her face. There's only a tiny bit on her neck anyway. And then on her arms. Also, as another tip, I don't use a blender pencil as I'm going. Now, I don't use a blender pencil as I'm going because not only are we pushing the pigment into the page, we are still leaving a layer of, where's it gone? There. I think it's like it's a wax, but it feels very oily, so don't quote me on that. But whatever this is, we do leave this down, and once you put this down, it makes it very hard to put pencils on the top of, so I leave that right till the end. If you do that beforehand, it might mean that your layering doesn't work the way you want it to. So if you feel you need a blender pencil, just try and wait right until the end. And if you have to add a couple of colours back in afterward, that's fine, but just keep in mind that it does leave a layer of wax there. Okay, right, now we have to commit to the nose again. So let's use the method I used before, which is this one. This is French grey. So we're going to look again at the face, and I've got my deep eye sockets, and they come just enough for you to be able to make a small connection line on both sides there and there. And that's it done. Now you know where they're going to be. You don't have to worry about going wrong. I'm going to use the flat side of my pencil. You probably can't see it, but I have a flat side. I'm using the flat side so I don't commit myself to lines again. Add some dark areas in the socket. And all the way around. And then we're going to come down, and there is the line we've just placed, and blend that outward. and the same on the other side. I'm moving the page because my arm is killing me. So I know it's all the way probably around the wrong way for you guys, but I can't move my arm that way. So we follow my lines and we come down, we blend out, and we've created that nose shape. And it was really easy, and we don't have to worry about going wrong because I used French grey and you can't even see it. So I'm adding the dark area underneath her nose, underneath her lips, and I'm just going to make it slightly darker. I need to commit. I said let's go dark, so let's go dark. Darker in the eye sockets. I don't know about you, but I love colour in skin tones. I just love it. Depending on my mood, depends on the order that I do colouring in. Sometimes I think, oh, I really want to do an amazing background, so I'll do that first. But I used to do the skin tone first because I always wanted to do the bit that I love the most, whereas now I try and do that later. I'll do all the background and all the other bits because I love doing the skin tone. And if I do that first, I used to lose interest once I'd done the bit that I love. So now I make myself do the rest first. Okay, right, that's our dark colour. Just blend it out slightly on both sides of her nose. Done. I'm going to put it there because I don't want to lose it because I probably will need it again. So that again is a really cool colour, and I know dark umber is cool, but I'm going to go over the top with another dark pencil. I don't want to go warm just yet because I want to go darker. So we're going to go darker again, and I'm looking for the flat side of my pencil, not the sharp side, and this is dark umber PC 947. So exactly the same as I did on the other side. I'm going over the areas in which I've already shaded, and then I am just shading it and bringing it further outward to cover more of the white space is what I'm doing. I'm shading over the top and then bringing it further out. And you can see, well, I hope you can see, because it's definitely a cool colour. It's really cool. Not cool as in, oh my god, that's really good. Cool as in the tone of it. It's not warm, it's cool. I had to clarify that because if I'd said that in front of my daughter, she wouldn't know what I was talking about. Right, putting that aside, and we need something warm now, so I'm going to go in with the chocolate. And you can see straight away how lovely that is, really making it really warm. It's instantly bringing in some really lovely tones. Now, because she's darker, her base colour is going to be a lot lighter, a lot darker, sorry, in general anyway. So these white areas, they really shouldn't be left white. They do have to have a colour on them. But she can still have highlights, it just means that they won't be white. We'll have to use a different colour for that. But at the minute, I'm really liking these dark colours. I hope they're showing up for you as well. So I'm just coming in all the areas. I'm sorry, I'm spinning the page again. Let's bring a lot of colour in. Make it really warm. Now, depending on the amount of pressure that you put on, obviously depends on the amount of colour which is laid down. So you do determine the level of colour depending on obviously how much pressure you put on. And I'm just going to bring the shading out just a little bit here. And then she definitely needs some colour down here. I hope nobody's bored yet. Am I boring anybody? Is anybody following this from home, or are you watching and you're going to have a go later on? Someone talk to me. Okay, right. Now, because the skin tone is so much darker, if I use a base colour, it's going to have to be quite a dark colour. Let's try that one. That's too pink. Shelley, thank you. I'm glad you're not bored. We need something that isn't as pink as that one. Let's have a look. That's very red. No, what colour shall I use? Let's see what we have in here. Believe it or not, this is organised in my brain. To me, this is organised. These are skin tones. I need a kind of neutral colour. Oh, that one might be alright. Yeah, that is. I like that. Right, this is beige sienna. So I was looking for a neutral colour, but the last one I had in my hand was too... that was the clay rose, wasn't it? It's too pink. Pink won't work. Right, so I'm going to go in now. This is beige sienna, PC 1080. And I'm going to use this to kind of bring all the colours together as a base colour, so I can cover more area of the skin. And I'm being really careful right now. I really am not putting a lot of pressure on. And I'm just doing small circular motions, so I'm not leaving any lines anywhere. I just want to cover some more of the skin area before I then go in and add some more reds. But I really wanted to bring all these colours together first. Again, I don't know if you can see on camera, but by going over the top of the colours with one that I'm doing now, it kind of brings all the tones in line with each other. They're not too indifferent to each other. I really love this colour, you know. This is one that you can only get from the largest set as well, I think. I know I've definitely not had this one before. So I'm going over my highlights as well, because as I said, if she's got dark skin, her highlights are not going to be white. So I'm just going to go lightly over all of the remaining skin. And I definitely want to add in some colour. So I'm going to go with henna. Lightly again. So it's layers, always layers. And I really want to bring some colour into her cheeks. Circular motion, even pressure, lots and lots of layers, lifting the pressure as we get to the lightest parts and then adding more as we get into the darker shaded areas so we can get some more definition. And then I'm going to use it on the darker areas of her arms so that we can tie all the colours in together. I hear dogs. Yeah, someone's let the dogs out. I'd show you the dogs, but obviously the camera's in the wrong position for that. And then the last colour I'm going to use I think sand's too light. See if we can get a kind of neutral colour that isn't sand. I love ginger root. I don't know. That's too dark. What's that one? Peach beige. That one. I like that. So I'm going to use it to bring all of our colours, and I want to use it to bring this area so that it's still a highlight but it's not too white anymore. It needs to be kind of tied in with a skin tone all over. And then once I use the blender pencil, you'll definitely see the pigment be brighter and darker. I use this on her arms, and then I think that will be her done. Right, let's use the blender pencil and see the difference it makes. So I'm just going over everything I've already done, but I am being careful not to mix colours so that we lose any of our highlights. We still want them to be highlights, but you can definitely see there's definitely a lot more pigment to it when you use the blender pencil. So I'm still sticking to the shapes that I've already created. I don't want to just start going, we spent so long making her face three-dimensional, we don't want to use a blender pencil and flatten her back out. So I am being careful of the directions that I am using the blender pencil. And there we go. There we go. She's darker, different skin tone altogether than the first one. Different highlights because they've got different face shapes. Her highlights will match her hair, her highlights match hers. We're able to create different face shapes, different nose shapes by making the noses slightly different. This one, I kept quite a long bridge all the way up to her forehead, whereas here I haven't. She appears to have a shorter, smaller nose, and probably kind of her eyes are more sunk in because it's darker, whereas she has a longer nose here and wider eyes. So it depends on where you put your shadows, depends on how it affects the way that your girls look. I do not know how long I've been on for. We've probably got, I'm just going to do it. We'll do this as a last one and then I'll sign off. If obviously if you've got to go or it's too long, then that's perfectly fine. I'm going to upload this anyway, but let's just go for it and try and get her done as quick as possible. So I'm going to go for light with her. So I'm just going to grab the pencils I think are going to work. That's going to be too dark. So let's go in. I'm going to use the French grey again, but I might actually use that colour. No, I probably won't. French grey, that's just to draw our lines in. That's the one that I want. Peach beige 1085. It's a lovely colour. Nectar 1092. Beige PC 997. Light umber PC 941. Sand PC 940. Peach PC 939 and chestnut. I didn't see that one. Yeah, we're going to use that. Chestnut PC 1081. So I'm going to go straight in with my darkest, coolest colour to do all of the shadows first. In exactly the same way we did the other two. Straight in and start creating the face shape by adding the shadows in. So up and around her hairline. And I know in books similar to mine, a lot of people complain. They say that their faces of each one of the characters looks exactly the same. Well, I really hope that you don't think that about my books, because I don't just like make one face and then stick it on every one of the different poses. I always draw different faces. They all have slightly different noses, slightly different eyebrows or hairs or eyes and nose. Their hairs are always different anyway, but yeah, it was a review I saw the other day. It was on a different book, it wasn't on mine. But I did think about it and I thought, I hope people don't think that with my books, because I definitely don't do that. I do draw each one. So if you have any questions for the next few minutes, just while I'm going to be quickly colouring this one in, send them and I'll answer them now, just before we all sign off. And I don't know what time it is where you are. So I'm adding the shadows in all the same places as I did before. Right, now we have to remember, think of the nose here. How are we going to draw it in? And I'm just going to go in like that, and on that side. On the underside of a nose, her lips, and then on the inside of her arms, around her clothes. .3:21 in New York. That's so crazy. I think it's about, maybe it's 8:30 here. I don't have my watch on. I think it's about 8:30. It must be by now. So I've put the darker colour down. I'm going to go and use that one. That's going to be very warm. I'm going to have to be really light-handed with that. It's a lovely colour, but definitely have to be light-handed with that one. So I'm just shading the exact same way that I have done the others. Again, it's just different because we pick different colours. Same process every time. I think I did I do green? I think I did green skin for a Halloween one the other day, and again I did the same thing. I just did this but with different shades of green, so it means that you can take this and you can adapt it for almost any colour. If you want a blue or a purple girl, then have one. Let's go in with the beige next. Oh, hang on, I missed that bit around there, didn't I? Bring this back out again. So now I'm going to go in with my beige PC 997. And I'm going to really bring this out now because she has a much lighter skin tone than the rest, so we don't want too many shadows anyway. So I'm going to use this to blend everything together and up and outwards with, blending it all much further in. Around all the same areas, doing all the same things. You can actually see that I think I've left too much of a line down her arm there. So I'm going to pick up, this is Peach 939, and I'm going to use that all over anyway, and I'm just going to use it to buff out that line there. It's better. And I'm just going to use this to make the overall skin tone a more of a peachy colour. Sometimes I like to go for pinks, but I always tend to, I think I do prefer peach when it comes to skin tones. And I definitely need to, I'll do that one. Just going to add some more warmth in. This is the same, this is Chestnut again, 1081. I'll just bring some more warmth back into her cheeks. Back to my peach. And we are nearly finished. Buffing it out. See, with a lighter skin tone here, we can leave a lot more of the paper white, because we really are looking for highlights. And with a whiter skin tone or a lighter skin tone, we can cheat and rely on the paper quite a lot to create the highlights for us, which is probably why it doesn't take me anywhere near as long. But we can definitely use it to cheat with. Just pick this up here a little bit. It's better. Okay, so let me just, I want a little bit of a highlight. What are they? Oh, it's sand. I've already got sand. Yeah. So I'm just going to go in with the sand. And I'm just going to pick up some of the areas and make it just a little bit brighter. And I think that is us done. And I'll bring the camera back in again so you can see all three of them closer up. Let me quickly use, it's there, a blender pencil just to push those tones back into the page. You can definitely see the tones coming out now. So although I have cheated and I've used some of the white paper to create my highlights, she still has a lot of pigment there. And there you go. 3 completely different skin tones, different face shapes, different shadows, different colours. I'm going to bring this right down so that you can see it before I sign off. If we can come in, can everybody see that? Yeah, so I'll put the list up again later on when I upload the video, just in case you've missed it, but that's it. Same process over and over again, different colours in your hands, and you can create completely different skin tones. I tend to do a different skin tone every single time because I'll just swap out one colour for another. So be brave, pick up a different colour and just see what happens. Thanks a lot guys for coming in and for watching, and I will speak to everybody later. Bye.